I was just pushing and pushing and pushing myself
Mm,
to like go through with like what everybody else wanted me to do.
yeah.
And so it got to that breaking point for me of like, this ain't my life.
That
Like,
is one of the first initiations on your
yeah.
next level. You're not alone, and it is for your highest good. And look at all the space you've just created for the universe to fill with the people that
Yeah.
will lift you up during this time, because it is also a fairly tumultuous time, like you said.
Danny, going through that Saturn return and adapting to that new persona. Everybody expects you to be one particular person, but you're not that person anymore. You have to learn how to adapt and grow into that new person, which I call growing pains.
But the truth is, it's not at the same place. It originates from the same place, but we upward spiral. And I came back around to that. And now I get to like visit this, learn something new, heal in a new way with all this new experience and knowledge and compassion for myself. So that,
Let's reframe this right here.
yeah.
Confusion is when you are on the verge of a breakthrough. So
Mhm.
you're confused because your reality has shifted. Something's different and you're trying to make sense. So you're trying to come into clarity and you're like searching for where that clarity is. So you're on the verge of a breakthrough.
Welcome to Going Goddess, the podcast where empowerment meets embodiment and divine feminine energy leads the way.
We're your hosts. I'm Silver Luna.
And Cherry, your chief empowerment officers and cosmic hype girls, here to remind you that your magic is not up for debate.
Every week, we're bringing real talk, rituals, and rising woman energy straight to you. Whether you're just soft launching your inner goddess journey or you're leading a full-on revolution, you belong here.
Let's go, Goddess.
Welcome back to the Going Goddess podcast, goddesses and divine rebels. I'm Cherry.
And I'm Silver Luna.
Yes, and today we are so excited to welcome a guest whose work lives at the intersection of astrology, soul memory, and deep intuitive truth. She's an intuitive astrologer, Akashic Records practitioner, and the host of the Cosmic Mystic podcast. Please welcome Dani C. Muniz. Dani, thank you so much for being here.
Hello, hello. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes,
Oh, we are so excited for this conversation.
Me too.
I say we just dive right in. So I'd
Let's
love to
go.
start with your journey, Dani.
Yes,
What
okay.
originally pulled you into astrology and intuitive work? And was there a specific moment where you realized, okay, this is my path?
Ooh, so good. So believe it or not, I've loved astrology since I was a kid. I often say this, I'm going to date myself here. I was in high school when the World Wide Web was like becoming a thing. And so I was taking a class and like the teacher was like, we had free time. And so we could go on the World Wide Web and it was like, oh my goodness, we're going on the web. Like it was like this whole big old thing. And I would go on it and I would put my birth date and my boyfriend's birthday and find out if we were soulmates. Like that was like my early beginnings. But like legit, like my bedroom had stars and moons. Like my bathroom decor was all stars and moons. Like I've always been attracted to like the stars and the moon and like astrology, but just in that very superficial, like, are we soulmates kind of way. And it wasn't until, believe it or not, I was like 33 years old. I met my love and we had like pulled up into my apartment, like parking. And he was like, hey, so I have a question for you. Like, do you know what your moon sign is? And I was like, what's a moon sign? Like me. And he was like, oh. And so then if anybody who knows my love, like he like will start telling you like the history and like the reasoning why, like, and so he went into this whole like dissertation on like how this was really popular in ancient civilizations and how it was like the thing that they really constituted as the thing more than anything else. So it wasn't like your rising sign, it wasn't your moon, like your sun sign, it was your actual moon sign. And so I was then curious because I was like, wait a minute, how does this guy know about astrology, first off? And how does he know so much more than I do? Like, because, I didn't realize there was more to astrology. So like I went and got my like birth certificate and like went online like the next day and put in my birth date, and it was like comes back and it's like showing me this thing, and I'm like, here's my chart, like what does this mean? And he's like, Google it. I was like, okay. So, like, all right. So I started like figuring, like I did, like I was like, okay, what does this mean, like what do I do, like started like how we all start, right? Like, and so I was like, okay, he said moon sign, because like sun sign came through and I was like, oh my god, yeah, totally, yeah, that's right, I knew that, but I started like researching it more. And then it was like moon sign. So I look, and I'm a Cancer moon. Now, I do sidereal astrology, slightly different than tropical, but in both systems, it was Cancer. And I was like, okay, what does this mean? And so like dug into the deep hole, and this was the first time I had the realization, and I had already been into like personal development work, learning myself, like on like starting my spiritual journey, like very early beginnings of that. And it helped me like confirm all the things that had happened to me up until this point, why the decisions I made, like why I would cry on freaking commercials, like why I love chick flicks and what I would cry on chick flick, like all the reasons of why crying and emotion was so strong in me. And that was like, that moment there was the pivotal moment of me really understanding myself on such a deep level. Now, at this time, I was already starting to coach people. Like, I was already moving into that space, but I still was like, I need to learn all the things. I'm a Capricorn rising, so I need to master all this stuff before I'm like gonna put it out there and say that I'm anything of anything. And so I was like doing that. I was like, let me learn this, let me learn this, let me learn this. And I did like everything I did. I was like, how does I see that in my chart, right? Like, what does this look like in my chart? And I would look at like, okay, Saturn's in my 7th house. What does that mean? And it's in this sign. And what does that mean? And it just started diving in even deeper and even deeper. So much so that then I was like, wait, my clients, like they are experiencing something similar. What does that look like in their chart? Like, how do I see that in their chart? And so then I would see like, oh, they're a 4th house sun. Family's everything to them, like, and it would help me make sense of the struggles that they were having. And that was like, it was over. It was like, I need to use astrology. Like, I really need to use astrology in the work that I'm doing. And I need to start bringing, like, I started to slowly come out of the spiritual closet, because at that point I was already into all kinds of things. Like, I was in it, I was deep in it, but I was in the spiritual closet because I was still afraid of like, well, what are people going to think? I used to be the super religious girl, like, all of that. And so, but yeah, it was that pivotal moment of me first, like realizing astrology could help me understand myself and not just tell me we're soulmates. And then realizing, hey, this can help me understand my clients more so then I can help them better.
Oh, that's
Wow.
so awesome.
That
And
is
like,
awesome.
oh, go ahead, Silver.
Oh,
Oh,
no, go ahead.
okay. I was just thinking about like how like everyone wants to be seen and to feel so seen and like deeply recognized, and this is such an amazing modality to do that. Like beyond a coach being like, I see your potential, you're amazing. It's like
Yeah.
also the stars say this, like the way that you're feeling makes a whole lot of sense. And so like to have that kind of ethereal perspective, like and being seen at that level, just it feels so good and it's so fun, and what a like rich way to help your clients beyond just what you've learned like in a book, but what can we learn from the
Yeah.
stars as well? It feels like this universal ancient wisdom being like
Yeah.
transmuted or something.
Yeah. And I don't think I believe I was destined to get to this point. Like in my modern, like the way I view the world, like my model of the world is that I was destined to get here at some point. Like the stars and the moon and the practices, like all of that has been something that I have experienced. I have experience with before coming into this lifetime. And all of that, all of the journey into like 33 years old. And I will say, like, I was 31 when I made big pivotal moves in my life to really start like in
Mhm.
this new direction. It was
Yeah.
until 33 that I really took that. But
Yeah.
that was after my Saturn return.
About to say,
And it
yeah.
was like,
Yep.
it was right after my Saturn return. And I was resisting it. Like, I knew things needed to change, but I was like, the beliefs I had at the time was like, you stick things through,
Mm,
like you're strong, you can get through anything, like you'll make this work, it'll happen. Like I was just pushing and pushing and pushing myself
mm,
to like go through with like what everybody else wanted me to do.
yeah.
And so it got to that breaking point for me of like, this ain't my life. Like,
Mm,
and I still didn't even
Right.
have like that awareness at that point, but I could feel it. Like I could feel the pressure. I could feel like I was depressed for like probably 2.5 years
yeah.
before I actually pulled the plug. And I would have never told you that I was in an abusive relationship. I never would have told you that I was
Mm,
depressed. I never would have believed that my life was being dictated by other people. Like I never would have told you.
mhm.
I would have been like, I'm doing great. I'm doing fine. I'm about to get married. Like I was from the outside seemed like everything was so perfect and right, but it was that Saturn return of waking me up to what was real and what was the truth, and I couldn't face it. Like I couldn't face it. And then it got to that point where it was like, you better deal with this or you're going to live with this for the rest of your life. And is that what you want?
Right. You don't
I
no.
get like so scared.
I
And I
know.
know you're human design. So to hear you saying like the way that you were living, and I'm like, of course you felt burnout, like my projector friend. And we especially when we have these
Yes.
desires to help people, it's like, well, if I can help people and I can help more and more people, the more that I do. And
Yep.
and now we understand it's actually such a shift once we understand our human designs and how energy works. But it makes so much
Yep.
sense that you felt burnt out, and I'm so glad that you're willing to take that chance on yourself and to follow that calling. Like, I can't do this anymore. There's something else for me.
Right,
Yeah.
and
It
I
was a
think also
huge
from the
decision.
inception, it's awesome you followed the calling, that you knew that you had a gift, you were able to see the stars and help others with that gift, so you followed that calling, and it was exciting for you
Yeah.
for a long time until it wasn't, and then it became overwhelming and turned into burnout, which totally makes
Oh
sense.
yeah. Oh
So,
yeah.
it's good that you're listening to yourself and your signs.
Well, now.
Yeah, yeah,
And
for
even
sure.
now, sometimes, like, I think we still get caught up in it, right? Like, sometimes we get caught up in, like, this is the goal or this is the thing that we're supposed to do, and we get sidetracked, right? Like,
Mhm.
there's all these other things, and like, I have to constantly remind myself, like, Danny, like, you're doing enough, like, because I have that need and that desire to prove, like, growing up, it was like you work hard to get the reward. And so like for me it's like I have to like still to this day reframe what hard work looks like and what that means for me, because for me hard work is like, I got to go till I'm burnt out and I got to get it all done and I have deadlines and it's learning like, no. It
Mhm.
can wait. Like you're so much better, you're so much on point, you have so much more clarity and you can really help people better when you take your damn time and slow down and rest. And like it's true, like I wrote down in my reflection of this past year and it was like every time I go on vacation, because I'm consistent when I'm on vacation, because I take more downtime than any other time
Mhm.
and
Mm,
I have such brilliant ideas. I have such clarity around things. And it's because I create that space, right? And it's like my goal this year is like, how do I create that vacation mindset every single week, like every single day when I'm in it? Like, right? It's huge. It's huge.
I
Yeah,
love. So how are you doing that right now? What does
yeah,
that look
right.
like?
Yeah, well, one of the things that I did is like my calendar is my Like it's everything. Like if it is not on my calendar, like then I don't do it. Like it has to be on my I'm a very structured person in that way. So
That's
and
awesome.
like that structure brings me groundedness. Like that helps me
Mhm.
stay grounded and it helps me stay focused. And so I went in and I took off every single Friday on my calendar. I was like,
Nice.
Fridays I don't work anymore. Like that's it. I'm done. Like I just took it all off. Now, not to say that I won't work on Fridays, not to say that I won't have an appointment or a session here and there, but I want to control that. Like when I want to work on a Friday, I'm going to work. I don't want just people popping in my calendar on a Friday, right? Then
Right.
I went in, it was like, I'm only recording podcasts on these days. I'm only working with clients on these days. My programs are only meeting on these days and at these times so that I can create that space. Like I look at my calendar, like I'm looking at it right now and there's so much white space that I'm like, yes, like, yeah, like, no, people, you can't get on my calendar. And not that I don't want to meet with people, it's just that I want to make sure that I'm refueling myself so that when we do meet, like I'm bringing you my all, like I'm here. And just as much as I'm asking that of you, like you should be asking that of me as your coach, right?
Yeah.
Like and I need that space. So that's one of the ways I would say is really managing my time so much better by giving it more space and just saying like, nah, this is how I work. And that either works for you or that doesn't, right?
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. I love that so much. So,
Yes,
Danny, a
yes.
lot of our listeners are either awakening or they're actively shedding their old identities.
Mhm.
From what you see in your clients, what tends to happen right after someone wakes up spiritually?
Well, your whole life has been shattered.
Yeah.
Your whole reality has been shattered. And I think that's what a lot of people don't realize is like you woke up to a reality that no longer exists. And you're trying to live in this new reality when nothing makes sense anymore. Even when you're shedding an old identity, like people expect you to be that old identity.
Mhm.
And we have been in the game of keeping up with that identity with each other. Like we have roles that we play with each other, right? And so when you've awakened, I see this in relationships, I see this in friendships, I see this with parents and children, right? Because I tend to work with I tend to work on both sides, which I'm very blessed. Like I get to work with the 20, 30-year-olds who are like waking up and they're like, my parents, did all this shit to me and I hate them. And then I'm on the other side of like the parents who are like, I can't believe I did that to my children. I'm trying to fix myself now. And it's like, I'm blessed in that where I get to see both sides. But regardless, there is this identity that we've held and that the other people want to hold us to still. And so, for one, it can feel very lonely because you think nobody understands you anymore because they're understanding the old version of you and they're
Okay.
expecting you to be the old version of you, but you're not. You're like, I'm different. I've changed. Like, I've realized some things about myself. The other thing is that you want to blame everybody. You want to blame your parents. You want to blame your, I'm gonna call it out, patriarchy. Like you want to blame everybody. It doesn't matter. You want to blame politics. You want to blame your friend down the road. Like you want to blame everybody for things that have happened to you because you realize that there was a lie that you were sold and now it's like, holy shit, it's because of you, it's because of you, it's because of you. And like that next step is taking responsibility. And for
Yeah.
me, that was my hardest damn step was
Mm.
realizing first off that I had all of the responsibility. I was like, holy shit, I'm in control of my life. Like I get to make those decisions. What are you talking about? Like, no, that was my mom. My mom did that shit to me. It's like, no, Dani, like you have to take responsibility. Like, how are you going to react and respond to these things now? Like
Mm.
that was hard. That was
Mhm.
really hard for me. And then to like not only take that responsibility, but then like know that you have that power each and every day to be like, shit, I'm creating this day. If it's a shit day, I created a shit day. If it's a blessed day, then I created a blessed day. So I get to decide. That means if I created the problem, then I can create the solution.
Mhm.
Mm. Oh, that's so
And
true.
and 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 being that. Like, how do you now be the solution? Like, how do you do that? Right? Like, it's a lot. It can feel, and my clients will tell me this is like, why does it feel so bad? Because you're in it and you're being conscious of your decisions now. You've awakened to something that you weren't used to, and now you're trying to navigate that shit. Like, I'm sorry, I'm cussing and I don't know if that was okay.
Totally fine.
I should have asked her. I just get passionate. That's all it is. I just get passionate. But that's the thing is, like, if you, like, for me, it's that identity part of, like, they're going to keep you at that identity, and you have to understand that and be like, dude, I understand you're going to treat me this way because you think that's who I am, but I'm not. And I have to understand that and still move in my new way, in whatever that is, in that new identity, whatever that is, right? Whether it's going from addiction to not addicted anymore, whatever you're addicted to, right? Like, okay, I'm not that person. I know you're trying to hold me to that. And I think we feel sometimes that we have to prove, right? Like, I have to prove to you I'm not that person. And it's not. You don't worry about them. Like, they'll come around when they're ready to come around, if they're meant to come around. Like, I think we hold on to these relationships because they were from our past. And a lot of times it's like, it's time to let it go. It's time to move on, because there are so many other people out there who are going to respect who you are now and what you're creating and where you're going and who will support you. But if you're still holding on to those old people, like, I'm sorry, like, they're just going to hold you down or hold you back or keep you second guessing yourself as you're trying to move forward.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh man, you said so many good things in there. I'm just like,
Right?
I feel seen. I get it. Yes. Like, it's so good and true. And one of the things that I've experienced a lot over the last couple of years, and a lot of my friends have in this space that have had their spiritual awakenings, is the losing of friendships and quote unquote losing of friendships. Because one of the first things you do when you're having your spiritual awakening is ask the universe, God, source, spirit, to identify and remove the people, places, and things that no longer align with your best self, with your highest timeline, with your purpose. And so, just like you said, there's a lot of people that aren't saying that same thing. They're not on that same journey or at that same place. And so they do fall away sometimes, for a time, and sometimes it's the end of that relationship for everyone's highest good, because they're over there freaking out. Why don't you look like familiar person, but you don't feel familiar, you don't sound familiar, you're not acting familiar, so you must be dangerous. And like, that's hard on them. And I'm like, whatever. Like, that's your journey to be on, whether or not you're going to like keep acting on that, or if you're going to come with me on this journey. But it feels like that's an initiation almost for a lot of like the women in my life that have had these spiritual awakenings and these friend groups, falling away. It's like, I'm like, come in, welcome. That is one of the first initiations on your next level. You're not alone, and it is for your highest good. And look at all the space you've just created for the universe to fill with the people that will lift you up during this time, because it is also a fairly tumultuous time, like you said, and kind of like the next step. I feel like after you have that awakening, you see who you are, you're rooted in that, then it's when we go from blaming to, oh, I take accountability. With sovereignty comes accountability. And now it's the villain era. And it's like, oh, I don't care anymore if you don't like me, because I love me. And I love that next step. Do you see that a lot? Like,
so I have a couple thoughts on. I love villain era. Don't get me wrong. I have some thoughts though. Let's be real.
Go.
So villain era, like the way I view it is like, I'm gonna be like, okay, if we think about villains in stories, right? It tends to be the bad guy, had a sappy story of some sort, and is trying to overcome that, but is doing these bad things because of it, right? So in that sense, it's like I've always had, well, not always, but since my quote unquote awakening, I have this belief that as not everybody is going to agree with decisions that I make. So when I look at like friendships, family, like they're not all going to agree with the path that I've chosen, right? And so I will be the villain in somebody's story. I
Yes.
guarantee you that I am the villain in a bunch of people's story. And for a while, like the people pleaser in me did not like that. Like I want to be liked. I want people to think I'm great. Like I don't want to hurt anybody. Like and so I struggled with that because I didn't want to be the villain. I wanted to be the rescuer. I wanted to be the hero. I wanted to be the person that solved your problem and helped you transform. And yet, sometimes people are not going to they're not in the place. Let's just say it that way. They're not in the place to let go of that version of you. They're not in a place to let go of their belief, of their limited belief or their limited perspective. They're not able to be in that consciousness that maybe we are in. And so that's what it is, right? We become the villain, and we have to be that villain, right? For a bit, my ex was a villain to me, right? Like he domestic abuse, right? Emotionally, physically, and mentally, and he was a villain. And I had to like own my own shit in that and be like, hold up, Dani, like you weren't all peachy easy to be with either. Not that I'm saying he should have hit me in any way, shape, or form. Let's be real. But we brought out the worst in each other. So, right? And so he was my villain. Now, I want to talk about this from a different place, though. When we're talking about being the villain, and are we allowing people to think we're the villain because we're coming from a trauma place?
Ooh.
That's the question. That we're going to take it, right? We're going to take it to the next level here because first off, like, all right, you don't like the decision I made? Peace out. Go ahead. I'll be the villain. I'm out. Like, you're the idiot, right? But then there's a place where it's like, okay, am I creating this so that I have to, right? Like, I'll say it in this way. My ex, he didn't want to end the relationship, right? Why would he? He was pretty good from his perspective. From my perspective, not so much.
Yeah.
But I couldn't do it. I couldn't break up with him. So I had to build the story in my mind that he was a bad person. And because he was a bad person, then I could leave him. I couldn't just be like, let's be real, this ain't working. Like, let's just break up. I had to create something in my mind so that I could say, I have to leave you and do that. And it got to that point where I wanted to have, you we good? Okay, I had to have that reason, okay? So I created him to be a villain so that I could do this thing, right? Now, if I flip it around and be like, okay, Dani, well, you were kind of a villain too. Like, I'm sure in some aspects of when he might talk about our relationship, he could talk about me being the villain. So that's our level 1, right? But the level 2 is, how are you now? Like, am I creating this situation so that I can keep not having to really own and honor and deal with the deeper stuff that I have going inside of me?
Right.
Am I just saying F you and you go on with your freaking life because there's something in me that I'm not dealing with?
Right.
And so, like, I always ask, like, when I see people who are like, I'm in my villainaire, and I'm like, sweet. And I want to make sure you're not creating this from trauma. That you're moving beyond that you're moving beyond this F everybody, because that's what it feels like. It feels like F you. If you don't like me, then F you. And it's like, and, right? Like, what are we doing?
What's next?
Well, and
what are we doing?
that also comes from, if you give good to the world, and then you're going to get good back. If you put evil into the world, you're going to get evil back. And I mean, if that is ultimately what your villain era has turned into, it's you going after people and hurting them because you're hurt, then you're not going to get anything good back in the world. You have to come at it with healed intent, or else you're shooting yourself in the foot.
And it's like this like acceptance of, like, I understand going from, because I grew up very sheltered and I was very much like all A's, captain of my volleyball team, student athlete of the year. Like if I was good, then my parents didn't have to worry about me. That was one less thing. So
Yep.
when I went to college, I knew I was just gonna like bust wide open and just party girl and all of the things. And I did. And even more so, I felt like I had to go this like complete opposite way
Yep.
for a little bit of time and then come back to the center. Now that's like
Yep.
one example of going from like shelter to like good girl to realizing like I'm not a people pleaser anymore. But in the spiritual awakening, I've also had those moments where I was so in a box that I just needed to like crash out for a little bit and realize like and be like, I don't care what anyone thinks. And then it's like, oh no, that's not who I am. And I am, like you said, Dani, I am the villain in a lot of people's stories because that's what they're saying and not because that's what I'm creating. And I don't own that. I'm just okay with them thinking. I let them. I let them think what they think about me because I'm unwilling to cater to the version of me that they still have in their head or align with that. So I totally get what you're saying there.
No, I think like everybody is going to like I have thoughts, I have beliefs, I have ideas about who Cherry is. Same with Silver, right? Like Silver, we just met, but I already have thoughts and ideas about you, right? Like you can't control that. Like you can say all you want, but I'm going to create from my filter, from my lens, based on my experiences. And we all do this. Like I love my love, but sometimes I'm like, dude, really? Like, and he gets like so into things that I'm like, because he
Mm.
challenged me on judgment. Cause I'm like, we shouldn't judge people. And he's like, Dani, we have to judge people. And I was like, no, 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 no. You shouldn't be judging people. Like, how are you judging people? But then I had to like stop myself and be like, holy, yes, I do judge people. And I'm not saying that I'm judging people from a bad place. I do my best to keep as neutral as I possibly can. But if I'm walking down the street, I'm going to judge you really quick to make sure you're not going to harm me. That's an
Mhm.
unconscious
Yes.
judgment that I am making. And I don't mean to, like, it doesn't mean anything. It just means I'm trying to figure out whether I'm safe or not. Right. And I don't care if it's a man or a woman. Like, I'm going to judge you for that safety concern right off the bat.
Yeah.
Now, if I start judging you and comparing you and all that other stuff, like that's a whole other story. But he was 100% right in saying we do need to judge people because
Mhm.
through evolution we've had to judge people to make sure we were safe. Now beyond that, that's a whole other story. But I can't not have some thoughts and opinions and perspectives about people when I meet them. I can't not do that. Now, if I continue to hold them and I don't allow myself to be open, that's a whole other story.
Right.
But we have to understand we are going to judge people. We are going to have beliefs about them, which means from the flip side, people are going to judge me no matter what. Like people listening to this podcast right now are already judging me, good or bad. They either like, I like this girl or this girl's stupid. Like whatever it is, like that's okay though, because that's their perspective and that's their judgment. And that's okay. Like I don't take that personally. I used to. I used to be like, I need to say the right thing. I need to have the right look. I need to have all of this stuff has to be right. And so that everybody, and like, no, no, no matter what I do, there are people that aren't going to like me. And like that, that sucks. Like, I don't like that. I'm not a like, yay, but I also can respect that. Like, there's people I don't like. Like you walk
Yeah.
in, I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
That part. And like
oh,
judge, like the word judge, that's it's neutral. We assign this negative intent to it. It's a measurement on a
yeah,
spectrum. And so I love what you said there. Like you're going to judge everyone because you're going to have thoughts about them and place them somewhere on a spectrum. That's all that means.
That's
And
all it
then when
is.
we assign positive or negative intent, that's where it's weighted and can, it comes down to intentions. Totally.
Yeah, and for me,
Yeah.
I feel like for me, a large part of my goddess journey was learning how to cope with judgment because I always felt judged as
Yeah.
in my teenage years and growing up, and even into my early 20s, thinking that I had a specific life set out for me, based on my familial expectations. And then I realized later on that that's not for me. So, like you were saying, Danny, going through that Saturn return and adapting to that new persona, everybody expects you to be one particular person, but you're not that person anymore. You have to learn how to adapt and grow into that new person, which I call growing pains. um, but
Yeah.
as you're going through those growing pains, you're going to be judged and you're going to judge other people. But the most important part of those judgments is to understand where they're coming from and learning
Mhm.
that whenever I'm judging someone too harshly, it's because I have an insecurity and learning how to really look at it. And is it an insecurity or is it actually something that I really like? Is it something I really want to lean into? So judgments are huge on the goddess journey.
I would say also to add on to that, Silver, is like we are if we're if we're judgment, okay, let's go to this judgment idea. If we're going to um be, choose a new identity, right, or step into something that we haven't been before, or let's be real, allow ourselves to be a version of ourselves that maybe we didn't allow ourselves to be, we have to be 100% committed and connected to that person, to that version. Because just like a tree, when storms come, it's going to get rocked. It's going to get pushed. People are going to test it, especially the people that knew you in that old identity. They're going to try to poke holes in it. And it's you having to learn to stand in your truth. So if it's not truth, you're going to be very rocky, but you have to commit to like, no, this is who I am. And that's why peeling back the stories, the beliefs, the old ideas that we have about ourselves, to really connect to who we are, like on that deeper level, and be able to hold that, like that's the journey. Like that's that journey. So then you get to the point where like, well, I want to be confident, right? Like you said, in the identity, I want to be confident in that identity. Like, this is who I am. And it's like, yeah, so you have to fully believe it 100% that this is who you are. Because
Mhm.
I know that I'm a stubborn person. I know that I have to master things before I'll put them out there. Like, I know that I'm emotional. Like, I know that about myself and I own it. So that when somebody does come to me and they're like, you're so emotional, and be like, I am. Like, it's
Yeah.
so cool that you recognize that. Like, I
Yeah.
totally am emotional. Like, yep,
Uh-huh.
like I
Like,
can call that out. Like, it's not offensive to me.
yeah.
Before, somebody would be like, you're so emotional. Trigger, 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 right? Because my dad used to be like, stop being emotional, like, shut up and stop crying, or I'll give you something to cry about. And
Ugh.
like, so all of that would come up when anybody would ever say, like, stop crying or you're emotional. Now I'm like, yes, I am emotional. And I
Damn
love it.
right.
I love that about myself. I love that I can
Yes.
feel emotion.
Oh, I love
Yeah.
that about you
Uh-huh.
too. And I'm very much the same way. Also, side note, it's so much fun for you to describe the projector like as you're just talking. Like you have to master a system before you, but yes, of course you do. Oh, you feel all the things, of course. So yeah, just
I
love the
love you
alignment.
pointing out these human design
You're
points.
crushing. So good. It's so much fun. And y'all know I say this all the time. I would be remiss if I did not mention compassion. Anytime I bring
Mm.
up the word judgment comes up immediately, the word that
Whew.
comes up for me is
Yep.
compassion for myself. Because I was also thinking about, when we have these spiritual awakenings, these identity shifts, we're stepping into it, and the storm comes, and it's like, oh, like you're getting blown around and it's like, wait, but I thought this was me. And maybe it's new. Maybe you're a baby tree. And like that doesn't mean that you have to go back to the old life because
Mm.
that's stronger and and that's familiar and comfortable. Drench yourself in compassion and continue to stand in your truth. That's the one thing I want to say on that. And then for other people, we do like like you said, we're going to judge people. And right next to my judgment thought, I have my compassion, like just right there in my head, because the second there's a judgment, like, oh, drench it with compassion. Like, we just douse that person because we don't know what everyone's going through. Where are they on their journey? Are they in the midst of a storm trying to be the best version of themselves, but they're a baby tree and they're being blown by the wind? And so, anyways, that was just the imagery that came up for me. But yeah, compassion and judgment. Like, anytime I hear that word, compassion.
Yeah, I will say so. In my journey of work, and because I've been doing this for a while now, and I've worked with lots of people, and on that, I found that there were what I like to call 4 stages of healing. And the first stage being awareness, like, you've got to be aware that there's a problem, because if you're not aware, like, it's just it just doesn't exist, right? Nothing. There's no need to change it because you're not aware that there's a problem yet. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a problem, but there's just something that's like, something's not right, right? The second one is understanding. I firmly believe that there's a level of understanding that we need to have, whether it's understanding why this thing happened, the decision that we made from that experience, just getting a sense of what this is, right? From how we perceived it, right? Because whether we're talking about trauma, whatever way of trauma, because trauma is, there's so many levels within trauma, but we all have experienced trauma, right? We've all experienced trauma. I don't think there's one person on this earth that hasn't experienced trauma in some way, shape, or form. So we all are working through these things.
Yes.
The third step, and this is where what you just said, Cherry, comes into play, and that is forgiveness. That is forgiveness, first and foremost, of self. The version of you that experienced that thing, whatever it is you've got to forgive that version of you for either making that decision, allowing that to happen, going through with it, not trusting yourself, like all the things, right? Like, forgiving that version of you. The second part of that is forgiveness of anybody involved in the situation, which is a little bit harder in many cases.
Yes.
Forgiving, right? If it's our parents, forgiving our parents, right? And it's like, they only know what they know. Right? And not that that's good or bad, but it's like fact. They only know what they know. And they did the best that they could with whatever situation they were dealt with, right? Like,
Most of them, I always have to say that part. Most of them.
most, right?
I
I would
believe
agree.
mine did, but I want to call out for our
True.
listeners, because I know some people out there are like, mine fucking
No.
didn't. And so you're
Right.
saying you're heard, you're held.
Someone's like, no. Right. So right. So it's that forgiveness, but again, like, forgiveness doesn't mean that you're saying what they did was okay, or you're saying that it was that you approve or you agree. Forgiveness is just like, I understand that there might be a part of you that didn't quite understand what they were doing, or didn't have their full awareness, or however, right? There's a little part of them, right? And it's like, I can forgive that. Or I can forgive, like, a lot of the times I like to use the Ho'oponopono prayer and say, like, I'm sorry that you weren't able to recognize this. Like, I'm not saying that you should have, you could have, like, I feel really bad that you weren't able to be this person, right? Because a lot of the times I'm looking at my own parents, right? Like, I'm sorry, Dad, that you weren't able to be the person that I needed you to be on this particular day when this thing happened. Like, I'm sorry that you didn't have that consciousness, that you weren't there, that you didn't have that capability. Like, I'm sorry that you weren't able to experience that. Like, that's a lot of compassion right there. That's separating that emotion and coming from am I here? It's coming from a place of, like, total love and understanding and forgiveness to then move into that final and fourth step, which is to let it go and to move forward. And I don't ever believe, like, when we talk about healing, like, I don't believe it's a one and done. I don't believe, like, you've healed it, so you're good, like, everything's great. Like, there's layers upon layers upon layers. Like, I've done a lot of work around my parents, and there's still things that come up And it's like, okay, it's time for me to go deeper. There's something else that I either decided, there's some belief in there that's still connected to something that happened with them that is affecting me here and now. And I want to know what that is so I can look at that, like shift the energy, which is always my goal, is to shift the energy around whatever that experience is. Like, I'm not going to forget it. Like, I can't forget it. I never will forget it, but I don't want to have a trigger around it. I don't want to get emotionally charged every time I think of it. I want to be able to be like, whoa, that was that was interesting. Or I learned this about myself through this, or this is where this decision, this belief came from. So I don't know. I felt compelled to share that with you guys, but I agree, Cherry, there's a lot of compassion that has to come in when you are doing your own, whether you're doing it by yourself or you're doing it with a guide, a healer, somebody. You've got to make sure that you're coming from a place of honesty, trust, not only with yourself, but with whoever is either guiding you. But then that love and compassion, like that cannot, like, I don't believe healing can happen without that. I believe it has to.
Yeah.
It has to
I
exist.
yeah. I completely agree that compassion is necessary. I think for those that are struggling at the forgiveness stage, because that's somewhere that I personally tend to struggle a lot, I find using empathy in general is what really kind
Yeah.
of calms my nerves, because a lot of times I can't forgive that person for a long time.
Yeah.
But to keep myself from being angry and hostile and resentful towards them, if I just remember to be empathetic, just like you said, Danny, I'm sorry that you're feeling, or that they're in that position. It's not that I owe them anything. I don't owe them that
No.
forgiveness. I can give you empathy though in the meantime.
Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah.
that's a beautiful
Yeah.
stuff.
I can understand, like, like a lot of the times our parents might not have had that love and support, that they don't know how to express that, right? Or they didn't think they were worthy of it. And so it's like that feeling of like, I'm so sorry that you weren't able to believe that about yourself, or you weren't able to see the world in this way. Like that is true, like, dang. Like, wow, like that's true consciousness. Like, because we're all connected. Like, there's just this oneness of energy.
I love what you said about the um kind of coming back to these things that we're working on. And I had a really intense experience of that last year, working with a coach of mine and she does Psych K, so subconscious integration work, and incredible stuff. We went into a portal. Like, it was not just a little like, oh, here's a belief, let's just shift it. It was like,
Mm-mm.
oh wow, that belief, it came back up for me about worthiness. But that's what I've been working on since I began this journey.
Yeah.
What do you mean I still have more to work on? And
Oh, yeah.
it like threw me for a loop. I mean, for a couple of days there, I was like, why am I back here? Why? And I couldn't like wrap my head around it. And I'm texting her, I'm like, I feel untethered from the earth. I feel like I don't
Yeah.
know what's going on. I've done all this work, but you're telling me that I have this worthiness wound and it's at the same place but the truth is, it's not at the same place. It originates from the same place, but we upward spiral. And I came back around to that. And now I get to like visit this, learn something new, heal in a new way with all this new experience and knowledge and compassion for myself. So that was like one nugget that I'm so glad I got to pull out of that. And the second was, when I messaged her, I was like, I feel crazy. She was like, it sounds like you're judging yourself right now, because what you did do is uncover something really big, and your subconscious is, your nervous system is rewiring itself around this new reality with the healing. And
Yep.
so maybe we could drop the judgment. Maybe we could pour a little compassion on our heads. Let's
Yep.
just pour some compassion and douse ourselves in compassion. And it
Yeah.
literally feels like this soothing balm over my raw nerves and confusion around what was happening. And now that it's integrated, I'm like, oh, we were just upward spiraling.
Yeah, confusion is never a bad thing. Like, let's be real. Like, confusion is generally on, like, let's reframe this right here. Confusion is when you are on the verge of a breakthrough. So you're confused because your reality has shifted. Something's different and you're trying to make sense. So you're trying to come into clarity and you're like searching for where that clarity is. So you're on the verge of a breakthrough. So for anybody out there, like if you're feeling confused, first off, there's probably something that is fighting against each other. Like you start talking about parts work and it's like one part of you wants this, one part of you wants this, or you're living in the old identity and the new identity. And so there's, again, parts. It's like these two things and you're trying to shift the reality. You're not quite in either yet. So it's causing confusion. So to me, I'm like, oh, that's a breakthrough. I'm about to have a breakthrough. Like I'm ready for that clarity to come in. Like, let's come. But yeah, it's a clear sign to me. Like there's a breakthrough. There's a shift about to happen.
Well, I love that reframe. That's
Right?
beautiful. I'll take that with me, put that in my pocket.
Yes, please. I like that perspective change.
Mhm. Yeah.
So I know that we're coming up on time. We have about 11 minutes left. So I want to talk about the Cosmic Mystic podcast a little bit and like what you're working on, what you're putting out to the world and all of that good stuff. So what inspired you to start the Cosmic Mystic podcast? What kinds of conversations feel the most alive for you right now?
Ooh, so good. So Cosmic Mystic Podcast had been like 7 years in the making. So I had wanted to start a podcast for a long, long time. And I projector, not knowing that
I
I
was
was a
like projector
projector.
Meg. Yeah.
But I got lots to say. I got some thoughts on a lot of things. But again, 7 years, we look at Saturn and mastery, and it takes me a while to get to that point. And so I knew I had things to say, but I didn't feel like, oh, I'm in the place that I can say them. I know enough yet. And so I got to that place where I felt like, okay, it's time. And so I launched the podcast because I wanted, like, I knew that there were things that I see and I've experienced and in my own healing journey, and just seeing kind of how some things were happening out in the world. And I was like, I have some thoughts. And so it was like, I want to share. And that was it. Part of it was like, I want to share. But the other part of it was I wanted to bring people into conversation and talk about their journeys, because I feel like, when, like we said at the very beginning, I think Silver, you even asked me, was like, when people are first awakening or they're having that identity shift, one of the things that happens is they lose a lot of people in their life and they're looking for other people that are like them. And I had the same experience. I was like, where do I go? Where are all these people hanging out? Like, I need to find them. And that's what I wanted. I wanted people to be able to hear other people's stories and be able to relate to them and be like, okay, I'm not insane. Like, there's other people like me out there. There's other people that think like me. And that's what I wanted to create. So on the podcast, I've done a number of things. I think I'm almost at 200 episodes right now. So I've had like a lot of different things on there. Anything from just me teaching on astrology, just teaching on some spiritual topics. I have, my favorite thing is our interviews. Cherry's actually been on there, where we talk about their journey into spirituality. That's like legit. The question is, tell me about your journey into spirituality. And I can tell you, there has been so many stories of how people enter spirituality from, their parents were spiritual and then they rejected it, went religious, and then came back to it to, they were religious and then, left the church and then found spirituality, like, and everything in between that. Like, it's just been really beautiful to hear people's journeys and where they shifted and moved from and to who they are now and the work that they do in the world. Like, it's just so beautiful. And so those conversations are also on there. And that's really what I wanted. It's just, I wanted to be able to have conversations with people about their journeys and what their experience and how they manage. And so it's been really beautiful now that, I've had a lot of guests and I still have more guests coming, but to bring people back who have already been on the podcast. Like, there's an episode that just came out this week with somebody who was within the first, I think she was like on episode 9. of the podcast. And so it's been a couple of years. She came back and, talking about what she's doing now. And it's great to have a different conversation, right? Because now we're not talking about her journey into spirituality. We're talking about how she's living it and how, like, what she's doing and what she's up to. And that is fun. Like, I'm excited to bring a lot of those old guests back and have those conversations, and then have like group conversations where panel discussions of like different topics where people have different perspectives on things or see some things differently that can share. And, it's always for the benefit of the listener. If there's one, like, I feel like even in an hour-long episode, if there's one thing that helped you shift your perspective or opened your consciousness on something, raised your vibration in some way, or just felt seen in like the smallest of ways, my job has been done. Like, my job has been done. And like, I don't care if it has, I would love it to have like millions and millions of downloads, right? Like, I would love that. But I also know the few people that do listen consistently, like, I feel like they're consistent because they're getting something. And that means more to me than anything. So, that is my inspiration for the podcast. That's why I do it. That's why it's still here and it's going strong. And I'm excited to continue and see how it evolves even more in the coming years.
That's so awesome. And also for our listeners, I just want to let them know that episode 193 is Cherry's episode, and we will link it in the show notes.
Yes.
Thank you, Silver Luna. You're the best.
Of course.
Oh my gosh, that was such a fun conversation.
It was a fun convo.
Yeah.
Sylvie, you're going to have to come on now.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I would love to. Yeah, I'm excited to hear it as soon as I think I talked to Cherry right after the recording or maybe the day after, and she was very excited and she said it went really well. So anytime we feel like an episode went well, usually that means that we feel really confident in it and it's got to be a good episode. So definitely check it out, listeners.
Yes. Thank you
Absolutely.
for that call out.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, we have so many more questions, but so we're gonna have to have you back on because I'm like, but seriously though, and it won't be a few years because these are way. I'm gonna give it to you if you have any last questions to ask Dani today.
From an energetic or astrological lens, what themes are you seeing collectively right now?
Ooh. Okay. So as we are about to enter the fire horse, right, season, energetically, right? So energetically, there's a lot of movement, there's a lot of passion, and from an astrological lens, um, we have a couple of things happening. So I follow sidereal astrology, which is slightly different than tropical. I know I said it earlier. So just to like clear the energy around that really quick, is tropical astrology bases the dates on our seasons. And so they're called fixed dates. So it's always this date to this date. And in sidereal astrology, we follow what's actually up in the sky. So if you were to take a telescope or use any of the apps these days and like put your phone up to the sky, you can see that the sun is currently moving through the constellation of Capricorn. So we are actually just about a week into, as we're recording this, into Capricorn season. So that just simply means like it's Capricorn, right? We're in the Capricorn energy. So the signs are slightly different because I think in tropical, we're about to either move out and into Aquarius or we've already moved into Aquarius. I know we're close. And so it's off by about 27 days or so, which is almost a full sign. So we're usually like a sign behind, a sign of the times. We're usually a sign behind. And so like it's really interesting where people are like talking about, whatever zodiac season we're in. And I'm like, we're about to enter that. Like we can see what's coming. Like we're about to step into that. So with that being said, some of the planets that are shifting in tropical are not actually shifting into those signs or aren't shifting at all in sidereal. So from the lens that we're looking at it from there, we do have Jupiter. Jupiter is moving into Cancer. And Cancer, again, is an emotional sign. I said that earlier about my Cancer moon. It's ruled by the moon. And so there's a lot of emotional energy. And Jupiter is the planet of expansion and growth. So that tells me a whole lot about some of the energetic realms that we're stepping into, a lot of emotion. And then we look at this fire horse energy, right? And the fire, even though it is more of an action oriented element, if we look at the emotion of the fire, it's passion. And passion can look different compared to who's, again, no good or bad, but passion can be a toddler throwing a tantrum because they didn't get what they wanted, versus passion being, you yelling and excited about something that just happened. Like, that's happy. That's great. Like, passion can come in a lot of different ways. So can sadness. Sadness. I could be ready to jump off the bridge, or I could be in a place of like, this is really sad to me, but I'm still okay. Like, there's levels. And so when I look at Jupiter and I look at this emotional landscape, I'm like, whew, like my core offers this year are about helping people ground their damn energy. How to
Yes.
stay
man.
grounded amongst all the chaos, because we're about, like, although everybody's excited about Fire Horse, and I'm like, yes, and it can be tumultuous
Have your
if we are
protection.
not grounded.
Mhm.
And so, like, yeah, like, I mean, I'm excited from the standpoint of, let's get things moving. Let's move things into action.
Yeah.
We also are going to see Saturn change signs. It's not going to be till like the end of the year, beginning of next year, but it's going to move into a fire sign. And that means like the things that are pretty stable as far as like foundational energy is going to get a little crazy. And so that tells me that if we are not learning how to, and if you were to take one thing away from this episode, is to learn how to stay grounded, learn how to ground your energy, learn how to protect yourself, learn how to disconnect from the collective, because you do not need to get caught up in that, especially as we move into these energies that are coming this year. Like, that would be my number one advice for me from that astrological and energetic lens, is learn how to stay calm amongst the chaos, because it has to get, and I hate to say this, but it has to get worse before it can get better. Because like you said earlier, Cherry, like, you had to find that equilibrium of your identity. Like, we're this way, then you went this way, like total extreme. And then
Yeah.
you had to find that balance. It's the same thing that's happening in the collective right now. It's
Yeah.
like, we go this way, then we go this way. We have to find that middle ground, but we have to go onto the extremes before we can find the center. And we're all wanting the center. We're all wanting to come back. Can we come back to center, please? But it has to go to the extremes before we can get that. And my goal is to help you stay grounded through whatever the external is going to do, because the external is always going to do what the external is going to do.
Yes.
But how are you going to stay grounded and solid in yourself as you move through this?
But I asked that
Ooh.
because let me tell you what, I dated a Cancer once, and they are emotional.
Well,
Yes,
I'm
we are.
excited about that because I'm gonna do a little self-plug before we're gonna have you plug all of your fun things. But my Goddess on Purpose beta program is all about grounding into like who you are at your core. For the world told you who to be, and I did not know. Like, of course, I know about the fire horse, and like
Yeah.
I believe in like the power of grounding into like your truth and who you are and standing on business and but having those practices and that foundation unshakable. And so I'm just thrilled that that's what you said. And like my listeners, it starts February 16th if you're interested. Yes, that's the first live call, but it is all about grounding in your truth and being the person that you can rely on beyond, but like while everything is going crazy outside, you always can come back to center.
Mm.
So thank you for sharing that. I'm very excited that we're so aligned on that. Um,
Yeah.
way to go,
Yeah.
intuition. What's up?
Way to go.
Okay, Dani. So you're all over the place. I feel like you have the Cosmic Mystic podcast, you have coaching, you have multiple coaching modalities. Would love to know about
Mhm.
those. Where can people find you? Where's the best place to connect with you?
Yeah. Okay. So best place is if you're already listening to podcasts, then I'm going to say come on over to the Cosmic podcast, because if you're a podcast listener, then you'll probably love my podcast too. If you love these ladies, it's the Cosmic podcast. You can find it on Spotify, YouTube, all the places that you find your podcast these days. That's the best place to connect with me. I'm also on Instagram. It's my favorite platform, my favorite social platform, that is, and so I'm usually behind the scenes in there. So you can come on over there. It's just my name, Dani C. Muniz. So you can find me there. Things that I'm getting into in this, like right now, I have a container called Sacred CEO, and it's for women who are ready to become the CEO of their life and business. So if you're a business owner or you're stepping into that realm, come join us. It's super, super fun. So the modalities, you talked about modalities, like we could be here for another hour talking about all the modalities, but some of my top modalities are astrology is my number one. It's my favorite. I actually have a YouTube channel where I do an overview of like what's happening in sidereal astrology. So if you're curious about sidereal astrology, and I come at it from a place of empowerment. So the stars and the planets are going to do their thing, and it's like, how do we navigate that? How do we work through that? And how do we do our own work through that? So usually every season has a theme. Like Capricorn's like, let's get it. Let's get responsible. Let's get our plan together. Like, let's get at it. And so that's the season. As we're recording, that's what we're in right now. But each season has its own theme. So we talk about that and how to navigate that on the YouTube channel. So that's one. The other is I am an Akashic Records practitioner. So you want to know about the records. You want to know, like, the records hold everything that your soul has experienced in its lifetime since inception. So every thought, word, deed, action is all held in the records. And so as a practitioner, I'm able to access that information and help you, guide you into what's your next best step, or how to understand something that happened in an experience, whether in this lifetime or in other past lifetimes as well. So that's like probably like the top two. The other one that I use a lot is somatic breath work. I am a somatic breathwork facilitator, and because I have the Akashic Records and astrology, I bring all of that to the mix. And so our sessions are really more of healing sessions. So it's breathing and allowing yourself to express what it hasn't expressed, the body at least. So those are really powerful. We do those on the full moon. So if you're looking online for like a full moon breathwork, then come join us. So you'll find all of that on all the things that I have out. So on the podcast, on the YouTube channel, or on Instagram, I share all about that. But I do have, as Cherry said, I do have 3 containers I'm doing this year, and because of where we're headed, they're 12. They're each 12 weeks, and the first one is all about grounded self. So very similar, Cherry. Really learning how to ground your energy, ground yourself into yourself, and it's more of leadership. So being that leader energy as you navigate your life and your business. The second one is on visibility. So if anybody's struggling with visibility, and visibility, not just from a business owner standpoint, but visibility in your life. Many of us, we put everybody before us. And so we're too scared to say the things that we want to say. And so that's really what that one's about. And the third one's on relationships. And so how you're navigating relationships, whether your intimate partner type relationship or just friendships, right? There's a lot that happens in friend groups and or with family. So those are 3 containers opening this year, which I'm super excited about, called Return to Self.
Ooh, that's so exciting. I'm like, oh, I want to sign up for some of those. Just like
Come
in the
join
grace,
us.
like you can come to my like 4-week thing, and then we'll like go to Danny's for 12 weeks. Like a real
go.
integration. Yeah, man, there is such a thing about visibility. I'm so glad that's another piece that we're gonna talk
Yeah.
about in mind, like that the collective needs what we
Yes.
got for sure.
Yes.
Amazing.
Mhm.
Well,
Yes, they
thank
do.
you so, so, so much. This has been a blast.
Yes, thank you so
Yes.
much. I appreciate your time and your energy. It's been amazing.
Oh, I
Yes.
just want to say thank you, ladies, for this space, this opportunity. I've absolutely enjoyed our conversation. And so thank you for your light, for your magic, for what you guys are doing here with the Going Goddess podcast, and the inspiration and healing that you're bringing to the world in the ways in which you both do that. So thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much. We'll absolutely have you back on because you mentioned Akashic Record. I have so many questions. So, listeners, don't
Let's
worry,
go.
she'll be back.
Yes.
Amazing.
You can find us on Instagram at Going Goddess Podcast and join our community of radiant rebels in the Goddess Collective on Facebook, a sacred space where we take these conversations even deeper.
And remember, you're not alone on this journey. You're leading it.
Goddess vibes only. And as always, stay radiant,
Stay empowered,
and keep going, Goddess.